Washington is in utter chaos. Utter chaos. Trump's last picks, not only Pete Hegseth, but Tulsi, and then, man, Attorney General Gates. This is absolutely huge. Even some Republicans, some rhinos are like, oh, I don't know if this is the right guy. You know what? When people stand up against the deep state, even the McCarthys, the Grahams, the fact that man, Gates has called them all out. They're scared to death of someone like this being appointed because they know he will probably target. You know, Gates has always been one of those, they always call him a punchable face. And that's a good quality. It reminds me of Trump in a way that he has an arrogance and a smugness about him that actually maybe fit with this role. There's been times he's said things and I'm like, gosh, that was tough. That was, whew, that had to harm somebody. But that almost is just what we need. People that's willing to stand up and say the tough parts out loud. We're going to talk about the Gates appointment. We're also going to talk about what Vivek just said and Elon Musk said about the new DOGE appointment. Then we're also going to talk about a new surveillance program that New York City just put in. This could be scary. So again, while we have good things, there's still some crazy things going on. Also, Biden and Harris said they're going to try to put every last dollar they can to Ukraine before Trump takes office. Let's pay attention to what's going on, because even though we have good things happening, there's still some shady stuff going on. And I think what Tulsi, for instance, Gates and Hegseth will do, now some of the other ones too, I hope this FBI appointment is as good as they're saying it's going to be. What these people will do is go after the people in Washington that's taking advantage of us. Let's dive in today. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. It is a beautiful day, and we're so thankful to be able to speak to you, and hopefully you are getting something out of our daily postings. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. It means the world to us, and we humbly ask that you do that because it helps us share our message across this platform. And our goal is to grow, not to grow for any other reason other than to gain more wisdom as we try to work together to build a community to understand just common sense again. Making common sense great again, to understand how important it is to raise our families in a way that is right and not in a crazy world that we have to always protect them. Yes, we want to protect them, but there's no reason in America going down some of the paths it's went. So hopefully this channel will help us get back on the right path. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. And I think some of these appointments are the absolute best. And I don't believe anybody else would do this other than someone like Trump. I love DeSantis. I even love Vivek, and I love DeSantis, and there's some conservatives that do great jobs. But only Trump can make these kind of choices. And only Trump that knows he doesn't have, 30 or 40 more years to live or another term to deal with, only Trump can make these decisions. And even though I think 2020 was a sham, to be honest with you, what we learned is people are fed up and bitter. So then therefore it allows Trump to really make some bold choices. Well, Hegseth is one of them. Hegseth is brilliant. We talked about him yesterday. The people at the Pentagon are completely upset about it, but that's actually what we need. Remember, the first term, they hid stuff from Trump. They literally hid stuff like Syria from Trump. They tried to work against him as the commander-in-chief. Well, when Trump can appoint somebody that's not a retired general that's been in the system for 40 years, then it's a game changer. So Hegseth is going to do, I think, great things over there. And actually, he's a man that can handle pressure because, again, he's been a compact person. He's been in these hot seat situations. Some of these generals, man, they hadn't seen anything like this in 40 years. So this guy's young, and I think he's gonna be a winner. Now, here's another thing I love. Look at these ages. You've got Vivek. You've got Zeldin. You've got Tulsi. You've got Gates. You've got Hegseth. You've got all these people. All these people are in their mid-30s to early 40s. That's a game changer. That's my age. What we're seeing is a shift from this political elite class that's been in Washington for 60, 50, 40 years to people who are outsiders who are now coming back in to change things. Now, the word is that Kash Patel or Dan Bongino or someone in that maneuverability, again, someone who supports Trump, could be another appointment for FBI. Don't know if it's going to be them, that's alleged. But either way, if it's the same kind of appointments like we've been seeing, out of the box, straight up, ready to go to work, this could be huge. Gates is going to be, it's making people go nuts. Even people like Lindsey Graham, even some of these like Chuck Grassley, all these old men who are Republican rhinos. I think it's funny because remember, McCarthy was kind of, at one time, Kevin McCarthy was looked at as maybe a potential chief of staff. Whew, this is probably why he wasn't chief of staff. Also, here's another thing. Do you remember, and go back and watch, you can find it on Twitter or find it on YouTube, Trump said a few weeks ago when they were at an event that him and Gates had a secret. They had a secret and they couldn't tell you until after the election. You remember that? Now the secret could have been him just becoming an attorney general. But I think there's so much more than that. Trump, while everybody else is playing checkers, Trump is playing chess. And Trump has not become a billionaire and not become as successful as he has been in staying on top of the game, marketability, TV ratings, with the fact of just who he is by being dumb. So what's actually happening behind the scenes, and why are all these elitists and all these establishment Republicans and Democrats scared to death of what Gates is going to say? I don't know. I have pure optimism on this. This one blew my mind. As someone who believes in conservatism and someone who sees, I know a lot of things and keep up with the political situation, this one actually blew my mind. And actually, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's going to be a great move, and I think he's a firebrand. And I think that firebrand makes him a smug, kind of difficult person to be around sometimes with some of the people that don't like him. People who tend to coward don't like people who are in their face. And I think with Gates, he's going to be more in your face like Trump is. And I think people are intimidated by that. And so therefore they'll throw stones at him. But ultimately, he just got the upper hand. All these people that are naysayers against him, this man's fixing to be the attorney general. And people are like, oh no, he'll never go through the appointment process. You watch. They're not playing games. And I believe you're going to see Trump do some finagling when it comes to recess appointments and when it comes to what's going on with the Senate and the whole Congress. And I think Trump is going to do some amazing things. Now, what this also does is open up some great opportunities for Florida to appoint two good people, to appoint one great person for the Senate job, and also open the doors for some good people on the conservative side to jump back into those seats. Because right now, Florida is extremely red, and they can put two more phenomenal candidates as congressmen for Florida. So I'm excited to see what Florida is going to do as well. But with these appointments, what we're seeing is a younger class of populism, of people who can listen to the system. Every one of these people are active on Twitter. They're active in social media. They're active in their neighborhood, not just in Washington Power Plays. This is why I'm excited about what's going on with Gabbard, what's going on with Walz, what's going on with Gates, what's going on with people like that. Vivek actually came out and said something too. I want you to listen to this. He said, we have also talked to Ron Paul. We want to use Ron Paul in this maneuverability of what we're wanting to do with the Department of Government Efficiencies. You put Ron Paul with Vivek and Elon, dude, that's unstoppable libertarian, freedom-oriented stuff right there. Ron Paul came out and said just the other day he could cut $2 trillion like that and the government wouldn't even fill it. That's how much waste we have. Think of what $2 trillion of cut would be. It just came out that Biden-Harris's October deficit was the highest it's been. The highest it's been. Meaning we went in more debt in October for no apparent reason. Remember, Harris had $1 billion to spend and now she's $20 million in debt. Trump had $380 to spend, he spent like $340. That's budgeting, and that's how you stay under budget, and that's how you make sure you are successful with the kind of money that you have and you're being wise with it. That's why we say government doesn't have a problem of not making enough money. It has a problem with spending too much of our money. Well, Kamala and Trump just represented that. Kamala had 3 times the money Trump did and went over budget and now is in debt. And now she's trying to reclaim that. She's sending out emails to Democratic donors to help her fight the resistance. Actually, what she's doing is trying to pay her $20 million back. But Trump, who had 3 times less than what Kamala had, was under budget by $40 million and still won in a landslide. This is what true leadership looks like. His appointments, I think, are phenomenal because they're not what you would think is status quo. He didn't pick some general to be over the Department of Defense. He didn't pick some just random bureaucratic leader that's been in Washington 50 years to do this or do that. That's what I like. And I think that's what America wants. Here's the thing though. When you see these congressmen in the Senate, even on the Republican side, say, well, I don't know about these picks. That's a little too much. Primary them. People like Charlie Kirk and Scott Pressler and all these people, they need to go and they need to work to find better people in leadership and primary them. Lindsey Graham, prime example. If you're in South Carolina, please tell me why you have Lindsey Graham as your leader. And for the most part, people say, no, we don't want him here. Well, how in the world does he not get primaried by somebody strong? I'd say the same thing about one of our senators here in Mississippi. One of them came around and voted for Rick Scott, just like Trump wanted, but the other one stayed faithful to Thune and Cornyn, and he's an establishment Republican. You know why? Because he wants a job in a ranking member spot, because that earns him some things. That's the kind of people we need out of Washington. When they've been there for 20, 30, 40 years and they're white-headed and they've made millions by being in Washington, they need to be primaried and got out. That's what we need to happen. Now let's talk about something else that just happened in New York, because this brings up the point that even though winning is happening, even though we see good things, we see still a failed leadership when it comes to some of the Senate Republicans. I mean, like all the people in the Senate Republican leadership, most of them are weak. And that's sad. It breaks my heart, because Trump is going to do great things, and this Senate leadership from the top 3 or 4, it's just like, what? Most of these people are rhino establishments. But anyways, I digress. Now let's talk about New York. All the while things are going good, New York just came out with a new surveillance program, flying drones. Okay, has anybody seen these dystopian films? I think of like Allegiant. I think of like, Code 8. I think of all these dystopian films where you're surveilled to the nth degree. Now, I know they may say, well, this helps keep us safe with policing. This helps us, if we have shortage of police. Yeah, but you're moving into a point where you're overstepping, to me, what surveillance is supposed to be. Now, sadly, this is where I think we have to be careful. This is a very slippery slope. Yes, I want people to be safe. But if you would control your cities, you wouldn't have to worry about trying to over-surveil them. You would be in control of them. No matter what you thought about Rudy Giuliani was a good mayor of New York City. He didn't have to have all this extra stuff because he had police that were doing their job. Well, now that we don't, we have this Gotham-style mentality, and so as we don't have Batman, we tend to fly drones to bust out situations to make us be able to see what's going on in the city. Well, what that is that's actually over-surveilling you as residents. Now, this is just in New York City, but you don't believe this will happen in other cities and other areas and other states? All in the name of protection. That's what they'll do, all because of protection. What do you think those things on your face were for? Oh, your protection. It's bigger government state. And yes, I think that a lot of people are waking up to it, but then there's a lot of people still melting down on Twitter over it. There's still a lot of the legacy media that is melting down. This is why we have to be careful of making sure whoever Trump chooses, they need to be completely strong-backed, not weak, not yellow-bellied, and willing to fight the fight. Now, these people have to sacrifice because they're going to feel pressure, just like Hedgeseth. And the guy, Fox News author, everybody loved him. Now he's going to be, they're going to bring persecution to him, and they're going to talk about every little thing under the sun. I love the fact that he's a Christian. I love the fact that he's got tattoos representing that. I love the fact that he kind of talks about that a lot. But because of that, the Democrats and even the rhinos are going to push against him because he's not an establishment person. He's been here for 50 years in Washington. These people got to be strong and be willing to take it. And I hope Trump, every time he appoints somebody, he talks to him and says, listen, you're here because you can handle it. If you can't handle it, go and tell me now. I think of Rubio, that's the only one in Nome. Both of those are just like, I don't know if they're going to be able to handle it, but I think we need to pay attention to this. No, hey, I will say this, and this is a far-fetched, I always tell you these far-fetched things that I'm believing, but what would be funny is Trump talking to Thune and saying, look, why don't I appoint you to be like the ambassador to Ukraine or the ambassador somewhere else? Try to appoint him to those kind of positions or some kind of thing like that. And then that way it leaves open to maybe another chance for Rick Scott to be senator. Now, that probably won't happen. But that's what I'm saying. Trump is making those kind of moves where he's saying, look, where you think I'm doing this, I'm actually doing this, and I'm going to hire this guy. Everybody thought Attorney General would be somebody that's, been in bureaucracy for a long time, and also he picks Matt Gaetz. You know, that's huge. I'm hoping that we see a good appointment for Robert Kennedy over the Health and Human Services. I think that's kind of where he's going to shine. So I'm hoping we see that very soon. But these appointments so far, man, they're rocking. They're rocking. And I love the fact that most of them are younger, firebrands, not from the Washington elite. And they're making bold moves already. And Trump is playing chess while DC is playing checkers. Now, wrapping up, I want to bring up one thing. This is very personal to me. We can't get so excited that we miss out on the stuff that's still happening that's bad that we need to prepare for. We still have, like Ukraine. Ukraine said, if you don't give us more money, America, we're going to build nuclear warheads. Well, that's not good. I mean, that's not good. And you hear stuff like this where the rhinos are still going to try to push against some of Trump's picks. You hear things like the New York surveillance. There's still going to be things that we, even though we're excited, and it's like you're watching the draft picks getting picked and putting their jersey on in Trump's cabinet, we have to be very conscientious that it's going to be an uphill battle. And if Trump wants to succeed and his people want to succeed, they've got to be strong. Here's another thing. They need prayer. They need good Christian leadership and prayer. I love the Mike Huckabee pick. I love the Pete Hegseth pick. Both of those are open professing Christians. Now, not everybody that's professing Christians are probably Christ-like, but I do like the fact that some of these guys are very open with their faith. Well, what we need in government is not just some awesome picks. We need a revival. We need people coming back to morals and values. We need people around Trump to surround Trump that is praying. We as a nation need to be praying. We need to be praying for our leaders, not because we want some to fail or some to be successful. We need to be praying that God puts the people there that can do great things. I feel like we're making a turn. Ohio came out. There was a few more states that came out that started banning all these crazy practices with gender stuff and all that. We see that even California pulled more right in some of their voting. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to change and become a Republican state, by no means. But you're starting to see people say, some of this stuff that we're doing is a little bit crazy, and we need to kind of balance it back out. Like I told you, 70% of people in cities are wanting more safety. So they want their immigration issues, they want their crime issues, they want their homelessness issues, they want those things solved. So they want better leadership. So when I say the tide is turning, it is. But we need to understand that this is going to be a spiritual battle too, and we need to be praying for these people and making sure they're making wise decisions to do better. And the pendulum swinging is not just a spiteful or retaliatory, it becomes a spiritual awakening. This could be a spiritual awakening for America. I hope that's what we see with all this going on. DC is up in arms, but man, DC is like a cesspool of evil, and you all know it. You know, everybody goes to DC, they try to do good, but man, it's like a true swamp that they just become swamp monsters like the rest of them. Power, money, covetousness, envy, all this stuff happens in DC, and it corrupts them. There's only a few of them that's still excellent people in Washington. The rest are just like, man, what happened to you? I'd say that about a lot of people that we personally saw go up to Washington, and now they came back a totally different person. So do we need a spiritual awakening? Do we need DC broken up? Do we need Washington independent? Yes, because we're seeing a tide turning, and now I'm hoping we're going to see a spiritual awakening. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this. I want to take a spin of everything that we talk about and always remember that God can use it and be gracious to our country. America needs healing. America needs a better budget. America needs better financial issues resolved. America needs to have more peace. We need to have less polarization. All that comes with just putting the right people in charge, gaining wisdom, having a common sense approach, and of course, seeking Christ. It's time to pray for our nation. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.